I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending October the 31st. Glad to be back with regular cattle market summaries. These should be available on the stock exchange or dvauction.com and soon exclusively on cattlemarketsummary.com. For this past week, your fall run continues with spring-born calves making up a large percentage of your receipts. Still a few yearlings coming through, not too many yearlings. They're starting to dwindle down. Your yearling supplies, you got a few still coming off grass, but not really off the major grazing areas. Most of those have already moved on. Some guys that own their own grass in and around some different spots might have a little bit of grass yearlings coming through. But most of your grass is petered out as the seasons have changed. Most of your yearlings are coming out of some kind of a growing yard or background facility. But calves are coming in droves still. We're winding up October, which is your biggest run of fall calves. Move up into the northern plains, we'll have good calf runs all the way up until the bad weather comes in January. But really your calf market was up and down this week, unevenly steady. Just up and down depending on where you were at, who was at what sale, which buyers were on the seat, what kind of consignments they had, the high profile, larger reputation consignments, of course, drawing most of the excitement and could draw some buyers away from another sale. But you couldn't really tell a difference in the overall market. And there's no really reason to believe that your calves are worth something other than what they were either the last couple of weeks. So just kind of an unevenly steady calf market there. Yearlings were a little bit better, mostly steady to $2 higher as our numbers of true yearlings continue to dwindle. And like I said, a few coming off grass, most of them coming out of some kind of a background facility. Kind of a hard decision for those yearling sellers coming out of a facility where they had feed right there to sell, because these guys are really making a lot of money on cattle that they're growing. And I really hate to sell a cash cow there. Your feedlots are making sure $1 a pound on every pound of gain that they put on, bringing up towards 170 last week, a little bit off that this week. Your calf producers and your backgrounders are sure making $2 a pound as they're putting it on even cheaper, and the market is up in the mid $2 to $3 range. So it's a hard decision to go ahead and sell those cattle. Everybody is getting kind of afraid of the market. There's not a whole lot to be afraid of. But calf market's just been bouncing back and forth, kind of like your futures do. Looks kind of like an EKG if you look at a daily price graph on calves over the last month, just up and down, up and down. You're still going to have some sluggish sales, and especially for you small producers, you can't expect not to. When you have a big run at any of your major high volume sales, late in the run, if you've got fleshy, unweaned calves that don't have a lot of brothers and sisters to run with, you're going to run late in the sale. The sale is still going to seem a little bit sour. Still, your calves are going to bring over $2 a pound for the most part. It's going to be the most that they've ever brought in the past. So we can't hardly say that the calf market's not still good, but any sale in the fall of the year is going to get a little bit sour towards the end of the big day. But the southeast, we saw a rebound. Southeastern calf markets a week ago were quite a bit lower around because they kind of had some cool rains come through, and just kind of hurt the local demand and hurt the overall orders there. But southeast rebounded this week. And it's funny when you have a down week, when the runs are rolling big like we did last week, then it seems like the following week you magically see some crossbred cattle start to show up several hundred miles to the west. And we saw that this week. A lot of your southern plains sales had more crossbreds than usual. We know where those come from. And there's nothing wrong with that. Cattle got to come from somewhere. Everybody talks about stale cattle or cattle been sitting around. Most of your order buyers in the southeast know how to take care of cattle. A lot of them will run them through and either booster them or give them an antibiotic, kind of a mass treatment there to help those cattle make it through any stress they have to go through. But you're going to have some of those crossbred cattle to show up, and then they're going to help those buyers and take care of a lot of the freight for them and get them out to where they need to go. And And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a lot of demand for those cattle out in the west and southern plains there. But those cattle will still do pretty good and then still bring a good price, although they're going to be off of what your native local cattle are going to bring there. But right now we're seeing the market overall for your crossbred cattle, and I'm talking about cattle with a pinch of ear on them that don't grow a lot of hair. And those cattle are losing a little bit of demand because of the rapid cool down in your temperatures. And you're basically not going to be able to send any of those cattle north to a feedlot. And those buyers are a lot more particular up that way. And especially your farmer feeders, when they come into the market, they want everyone just to look alike, and they really take a lot of pride in just what their cattle look like. But you've got some independent, smaller feedlots all through the Midwest and the Southern Plains that have more freedom to do what they want to do. They want those plain cattle. I tell you, the profit margin on these plain cattle has been out of this world. And some of these guys that feed these odd cattle in smaller bunches or singles, or maybe some cutting bulls or some cattle that's got too much ear, got too much dairy, too much line breeding, just more undesirable types of cattle that you can't find a whole lot that look alike. Some off-colored cattle, whether they're spots or speckled or brindles or belts or whatever they are, those kind of cattle are going to sell at a huge discount. And but those cattle are still going to bring basically what all the good cattle do once they get fat. The feed conversion may not be there for them while you're putting them together, but you've bought them at such a huge discount that you've got a lot of room to play with, and sometimes those cattle will make more money than the fanciest cattle going through for a whole lot smaller investment. But this week your fed cattle sold $2 lower, and where they did sell, didn't have a whole lot of negotiated trade by Friday afternoon here at 168, mostly in Kansas. A lot of cattle sold on the basis this week and some type of negotiated trade. Your cow and bull market was down pretty good this week, $3 to $6 lower. This time of year, when you get the big strings of calves coming in, a lot of times those big ranchers will go ahead and preg check their cows at that point and go ahead and cull those ones that didn't breed back, and starting to fill up the boneless beef channels right there. But you just don't see those high dressing cows bringing up to and over $1.20 anymore like they were several weeks ago. They backed off quite a bit, and your good cows are bringing in the dollar teens somewhere. But we're going to see this fat market and all your slaughter markets back off a little bit probably here in the next several weeks, getting into Thanksgiving, people thinking about turkeys and stuff like that. Could see that back off some. Your futures market will probably remain volatile as it has just pretty regular for the last several years, but a dollar swing here or there is not much on $230 or $40 cattle. It's such a small percentage of their value, can't get too excited about it. There's not a whole lot to worry about probably for the next several rotations of moving these cattle through the channels. You just want to think down the road and don't let that get away. Make yourself a note or something to protect yourself in 2016. We will start to see significant supply buildup by then, and the market could be very vulnerable by then. Of course, anything could happen, an apocalypse or some kind of a food scare or something like that could kill it between now and then, but it's not going to be supply and demand. But that pretty much wraps up your cattle market summary for this week. Check out our website, dvauction.com, for more information. And from my DV Auction home office here near Maysville, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.